All right, ladies, we said that we were going to first start off. Nice to see you in person. We said we were going to first start off with this new month. Today is not only Mardi Gras, if you did not know, then now you know. Gail will always remind me. It is not only Mardi Gras, but it is also Rosh Chodesh Adar. Today is the new month of Adar. There's actually two. So today finishes up last month, and tomorrow will be the first day of the new month. So I really wanted to just take a chance before we dive into Purim, which we will do in 2 weeks. No.
2 weeks?
2 weeks, there will not be school.
So
2 weeks, there will not be class because it will be Purim. But, oh my gosh, are we next week? Right, on the 3rd, there's no class. The power of the month. What do we know about Adar? What do we know? Anything?
It's fun.
Nice. We know that the Talmud tells us the very famous line, Misha nichnas Adar, marbim bisimcha, that when the month of Adar comes in, the joy level increases. In many, many Jewish schools all across the world, today you will find already chaos beginning. You will find children in costumes. You will find what we call Purim shtick, which means there's a lot of hanky-panky going on in a lot of the schools. You do funny things at the teacher's desk. It was always a day, like we always looked forward to this day all year because it was like total chaos in the school. Yeah.
When does that chaos begin?
Today.
Like until a week and a half.
Yeah. So it's like 2 weeks. It's like 2 weeks of a little bit of chaos. The schools do their best to try to keep order, obviously, but you do feel it in the air for 2 weeks. The schools are decorated from top to bottom. My daughter was up till who knows how late last night getting everything ready for this. So it's like, it's real. We're trying to bring in the joy. So that's one thing we know about the month. There is an upped level of joy. What else do we know about the month?
I'm just thinking, it's so interesting that Adar, Mardi Gras, April Fools, all is kind of like, no, but it's all kind of the same time of year.
Okay.
I have one more. I'm in.
Yes.
I'm in Vietnam. One more. I'm in Vietnam, and it's New Year's Eve, and everybody's celebrating, and there's works and lights and everything going on.
You are currently in Vietnam,
and you're on the phone. That's amazing.
So that's another one.
I really want your life.
We need to track. We need to screenshot with you holding up the signs, like where you are in country. You're in Vietnam.
It's funny. But it's funny, they're celebrating like crazy here.
Yeah,
it's called Tet, and they do, and they have families come over, and they do this that is very Jewish piece, actually. They're grateful for the year. They're hopeful for the next year. They don't do tshuva and try and improve their character. I didn't hear that part, but there's a lot of
that is so interesting. It was also the Chinese
nice.
New Year this week. It was also the Chinese New Year.
Right.
Wow. Okay. Lots of goodness.
Same time.
All
yeah.
right. Wow. You're in Vietnam,
Yeah.
Debbie. All I can say is kol
Yeah.
hakavod. You really make Torah learning a
It's
priority.
easy. It's easy. It's 10:30
Yeah, I said
at night. I finish my day. It's easy.
Debbie,
She might fall asleep.
how much is
No,
How long are you there?
we're 12 hours different.
Yeah, here.
Well, so
2
I get
weeks.
it,
I'll
but-
be zooming in next week also.
It's fireworks.
But how long are you there for?
Another week.
you're there
It's
for-
like a 2-week trip.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
So
Enjoy.
we're 12 hours different. It's 10:45 at night. So
Wow.
it's easy. I had my day
Okay.
and now I'm on the phone. It's great.
Very easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Very easy. Does anyone know anything else Jewishly about the month? Yes.
Like that.
Okay, good. So let's start with, obviously we all know. So which holiday, we'll go back, take that step back. Which holiday is in this month? Purim, right. And now, Jamie, say what you were saying.
Hashem is hidden.
What do we?
Like aren't we? Like miracles are hidden.
Okay, good. There's a certain element of hiddenness. We're tapping into accessing hiddenness, the hidden hand of Hashem. I'm going to pull this all together. Anyone know the element of the month? What would you guess? Good, very good guess. No, keep trying. You got 3 more.
Fire.
Nope.
Water.
Yes.
Good guess.
Adar is the element of water, which we're going to understand in a moment. So let's dive in. Let's dive into all this. It's such a good month. It's like when you're looking at the calendar. So according to the Torah, when you open up the Torah, when it tells you what is the start of the new year, it's actually Nisan, which is next month. Tishrei, which is Rosh Hashanah, according to the Torah, is actually not the new year. We run in cycles. There's 6 and there's 6. We do have a new year, definitely, which is Rosh Hashanah, Tishrei. But according to the Torah, it says, and this month should be the first for you, Aleph Nisan. Nisan is the month. And that's because it's the month where the Jewish nation was born. It's the month that we became a Jewish nation. So in a sense, this month of Adar kind of like ends that cycle. It's the end of an era because next month is already starting a new. And you can kind of feel the energy shifting. You know, we have on the Jewish calendar when we're getting ready for Rosh Hashanah, which is the new month of Tishrei, we have the whole month beforehand, the month of Elul, which we're blowing the shofar every day, and we're getting into the right mindset, and we're trying to better ourselves, and we're doing preparation towards this brand new month. Essentially, if you look at what Elul is to Tishrei, what the month prior to the Jewish New Year of Rosh Hashanah, what Elul is to Tishrei, essentially Adar is to Nisan. You understand what I'm saying? This month is right before the new cycle, the new year. So we have to understand that if it's a new year and it's the next month and it's the time of freedom, we know that the whole story of Passover, the whole entire idea that we became a nation, that's all next month. What essentially we're learning is that if we need freedom, then we need joy. Joy is absolutely a prerequisite to experience freedom. You cannot have freedom without experiencing joy. Is joy a choice? And I have another question for you. Is joy a mitzvah? There's 613 mitzvot. Is one of them joy? What do we learn about Adar? And how do we see that obviously, if we're told that we have to up the level of joy in this month, something is supposed to shift. Last month, we spoke all about the concept of becoming a vessel, being able to empty ourselves out, right? We spoke about our relationship to food and having a healthier relationship to food. Interestingly enough, when we look at what the holiday that's in this month, Purim, there's so much about the eating and the drinking and the festivities in a way that almost you would say, like, hold on one second. If Shvat was the relationship with food in a healthy way, like, what is this relationship with food, right? The mitzvah of getting drunk, drinking so much, festivities, delicious food. What does this all teach us? So let's break this down section by section. Let's go back to that initial question. Is there a mitzvah to be happy?
I'm going to say yes.
Yes.
What's the famous song? Mitzvah gedola lios besimcha tamid, right? It's a very big mitzvah. Hi, Judy. It's a very big mitzvah to be happy all the time. Something is, and then you have to ask yourself, well, where in the Torah are we told to be happy? Which one of the 613 mitzvot says be happy? So the answer is, we are told, Ivdu et Hashem besimcha, bo'u lefanav b'ernana. We know serve Hashem with joy. And we also see in the Torah that when consequences, I don't love the word punishments, so I'm going to use the word consequences. My kid the other day was like, what's a consequence? I'm like, have you never heard me use that word? I don't understand how that has not come up before. The consequences to behaving in a way that was anti-Torah and mitzvot, that God did not want us to behave in. Actually, when we see that there was consequences, it says why? Tachas, because asher lo avarta et Hashem Elokecha b'simcha u'b'tuv levav. Why did you get this consequence? Because you did not serve God with joy and with happiness and with a good heart. This is why. This is one of the reasons why, and the Torah tells us why consequences happen. So we understand the gravity of the focus of how much importance in Judaism we put on joy. And I'll add in one other thing, and if you've been learning with me long enough, you'll remember this, that in the month of Av, we are told the exact opposite. The month of Av is the saddest month of the year. And we are told, Misha nichnas Av, when the month of Av comes in, mima'atin b'simcha. We are supposed to decrease our joy. So if in Adar we increase our joy, and in Av we decrease our joy, what does that tell you about the baseline of joy for a Jew? Always at joy. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes the volume goes down, but the baseline is always joy. Okay? So this month is the month about joy. And the reason that I think that it's so powerful that we focus on the element of the water is because if you think about it, it's literally as we are physically seeing the ice melt away outside, in a way, it's also symbolic of the ice that perhaps has built up in our hearts. Resentment, staleness, lack of excitement, some of it just from the weather alone, some of it just because we've gotten, lax since Rosh Hashanah. Maybe we've gotten more into our habits, we've gotten more into comfort, and we are melting. We're literally starting to feel the shift going on. The coldness and the ice that we have sometimes that lives inside of us is problematic. And Adar represents the water, it turning from ice into water, into being more fluid, into seeing it melt, into seeing it start to feel that way. And of course, I hope you know, none of this just happens, right? So tomorrow will be the first day of Adar. Nothing's going to feel different unless we make it different, right? So if we know the energy is here, we have to tap into this energy. And this is what is so important. Okay. And it really is. It's this spring energy. Adar comes from the Hebrew word adir. Adir means strength. Hashem is known as adir. There's a strength over here, right? There's an inward strength that we have in this month. And there's also a strength that we see, like Jamie was saying, that the hidden miracles that are all going on behind the scenes. So many moving parts that we have absolutely no clue as to why they could be happening. And yet we know there's strength to that. They come for a reason. They're not just coincidental. They're actually happening for a reason. The energy of the month is also, we always look to the holiday that's in that month to see like, where do we get our strength? But the energy of the month is in Hebrew, we call it a v'nahafoch hu energy. What does v'nahafoch hu mean? V'nahafoch hu means it turns upside down. Something turns upside down in this month, which means that oftentimes things that could look so bleak can start to look better. Things that we see in a certain light, we can see in a different light. It has the energy of the power of switch, right? That's what's going on. And the two heroines, the most famous heroines from the story are none other than Mordechai and Esther. And just, I'm not going to give the whole Purim class, but the reminder that Esther's name itself, Esther means hester, hidden. Esther means hidden. She is all about representation of the hiddenness that was going on. So I think it's important to think about this month and in this journal, really put our finger on the pulse. Today is the last day of the month of Shvat. It's a time that we ask ourselves, how am I feeling? How am I doing? What do I feel like entering into this new month? What is my intention for this month? How can I set my intention so that the month doesn't just come and the month doesn't just go? We have 4 weeks now where there's extra joy in the air. And in 8 weeks, not even.
That was 7 from us.
7 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll be sitting at the Seder table, right? So like, and we want to know that we're going to be filled with a sense of freedom. but we have to put in the work. Okay. So really, if you want to learn all about how to achieve joy, so that's not going to be this class. You have to come to the Hamantash Bake tomorrow night. That's going to be all about how do we actually achieve joy? How do we achieve joy? What does it mean? But thinking about how am I going to pour into myself this month so that I can reach this level of joy? One other thing that I just wanted to mention is, of course, the zodiac sign of the month, which is Pisces. Okay, Pisces is the zodiac sign of the month. Mazal Adar Dagim. It's fish. There is much to be said about fish. Okay, but first of all, you know, fish live in water. Fish live in water.
Yeah.
And when fish are removed from water, they cannot live. So we think of ourselves also. What is the sea that we are swimming in? What is the sea that we are associating ourselves with? We have to question, we have to look, we have to be able to analyze. Am I filling myself with the things that nourish me? Am I nurturing myself, right? From a Jewish perspective, of course, I'm asking myself, look at all the ladies who showed up here today, but like, am I nurturing myself with Torah wisdom and Torah learning? Am I connecting with other people who lift me up? So this is very beautiful. And I love the way that she says, can you transform your uncertainties into the joy of the unknown? Surrendering to the unknown, releasing control lets you be like fish in water when you can surrender. This is the beautiful path to accessing the lightness, the play, and the joy of the month of Adar. As a child, I did not understand. I felt a certain joy in the air, a certain silliness. If I tell you the pranks that we used to pull on this day, just don't ask. Some of them we got in big trouble for, and some of them we got away with, you know, and that, no. We really, like, it was silly. It was a funny time. And I didn't understand the depth of what true, it's not silliness. That's not what we're connecting to. Obviously, as we get older, we understand. That there's so much inherent here. And when you look for joy and when you're looking to fill up your cup with joy, you can. You have the ability to fill up with joy. And I think it's so perfect because it's going to really transfer over into, as we're going to continue on in the gate of humility, it's going to really transfer into this theme. Yes.
I don't know if this is a big reach, but I think of joy and silliness. I think of freedom, and that reminds me of like having freedom, like being free to express yourself, being free to be who you are. I mean, that might be a bit of a reach. When I think of joy and silliness, I think of like just being like you're authentic.
Authentic. Okay, so I would say authenticity more than freedom. Freedom is much more next month's power. It's not about just being free. It's about being free.
Right.
Like, it's about like not just like being true to who you are and all of that. Like, that's this month in authenticity. Freedom is really understanding you can only be free. This is like a big, like Edith Eger used to always say this, like you could only be free. You could only be, if you know what you're running away from. If you can only choose freedom if you know. So that's much more next month's energy. But authenticity is exactly this month. In fact, why do you think we dress up in costumes on Purim? It has all to do with authenticity. There's something about showing like a side to you that maybe doesn't normally get expressed, or a certain joyfulness and silliness that often is suppressed. And that ties into the joy. So yeah, I hear why you're connecting it to freedom. I would say authenticity is a great word. Yeah.
I almost feel like it's reversed. Like, I feel like it makes more sense freedom before joy than joy before freedom.
How do you get free without the joy? Like, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
So understand the depth. Understand the depth. Does anyone have any comments? It's such an amazing question. The question itself holds so much profundity. But does anyone have any thoughts on that? If you should be free, Jamie's saying what we should experience freedom, and then we can experience joy. What's the thoughts?
If you go the other way, like you're saying, the joy to freedom, you can have joy in order to be free. But can you have joy if you are not free?
Okay. Good, well said. Can you have joy if you are not free? Meaning, then you're waiting for freedom in order to achieve the joy.
Like when the Israelites were in Egypt.
Okay.
How could they have been joyful when they were enslaved?
Okay. So we're going to get there in 1 minute. We're going to get there in 1 minute. Very strong point. We're going to.
No.
Like, even in the worst circumstances, like what you're saying, this is the baseline of joy.
Okay. But you're still saying that you have to be free. You have to be released of all the things, be free. And then you can achieve joy.
Yeah, that's kind of not what I'm saying.
Okay. So then what are you saying?
I was just thinking about like the process, and to me, I don't know, it makes more sense.
Why? Why does it make more sense? So think about it. Why does it make sense?
I don't know, I feel like you need to, in a way, maybe it is what you're saying. Like to be free makes sense to the first step to then.
Right, because you're saying that you're free and then you can feel joy. But then you're saying
You can feel joy the whole time. I don't know.
But if you release control, then you're allowing yourself for the unknown to step
okay,
in.
so the unknown is a big word over here. And I'm actually going to bring you a proof. Actually, very interesting what Sharon said. I'm going to bring you a proof from the actual story of the Exodus. Gail.
I think of three things. First of all, when we accepted the Torah, we said we will do and then we will learn.
We will do and we will listen. Yeah.
Listen, which seems like the opposite of what it would be. And it never made sense to me until like I started studying why we would have Rosh Hashanah before Yom Kippur.
That's exactly what
And then again, it's like on the tip of all of it, it seems counterintuitive.
Yeah.
On all three of those. But then when you think about it, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, it's so Jewish. not to make sense on the outside, and you really have to think about it.
Right. Because I think essentially what you're saying is that when you're free, you're a little bit contradicting yourself because you're saying, but joy is a choice. Joy is a choice. So if you're not free, you can still be joyful. But then you're back to why it's joy first and then freedom. So yeah, go ahead, Debbie.
Okay. Just if your joy is pure, then there's a freedom that comes with that. Like if you're so happy and so content and satisfied, then a lot of things are lifted. So there's a freedom to that.
That's exactly right.
I can see.
That's exactly right. But that's why I'm saying that joy is a prerequisite to freedom. You have to be able to.
I agree.
Right. Okay. So let's understand. I just want to say this one point about what Sharon said, because this is fascinating. When the Jewish people were enslaved, I don't necessarily know if you can say they felt a high level of joy, right? Like it was very, very hard. But we see a few things, a few episodes, a few little information bits that show us like a whole window into a world of what it really meant. So one of the more famous ones is the line of Miriam who grabbed her tambourine, right? They were still enslaved. Miriam grabs her tambourine. She's already seeing a brighter future. She's going to dance. Fine. That's number one. The other thing that I want you to know is that the sacrificial, the Paschal sacrifice, the Karban Pesach, the Paschal sacrifice, which wasn't only eaten after they got out, it was still symbolized slavery. They were still enslaved, and they were told that they should eat it with complete, almost as if freedom was already there. Their belts should be girded. They should be eating it in a way of kingship. It was like a big laffa. You can imagine like a shawarma, like a laffa with like all the meat and deliciousness. And they were still enslaved. They were not yet free. And you can ask yourself, like, I don't understand. Like, how is somebody really supposed to feel like they can relax and have this delicious meal when they're still stuck in the slavery? And even though they were right on the cusp, the lesson that it teaches us is exactly that it's the and. It's really that they were still in the misery and they were able to experience the sense of freedom at the same time because they knew that something better was yet to come. So joy, this is a very, very, very high level, but true ultimate joy is when you're in the sense of feeling stuck, trapped, all the things, and you're already starting to feel a sense of there is going to be freedom. Do you know that I know certain people, there's a concept in Judaism that when you experience a very scary thing in your life, whether it be a health scare or a car accident and anything that's a very scary thing, there's a concept of a su'udat hoda'ah, which means you make a special meal to acknowledge gratitude to the Almighty. You make a special meal. You can invite your nearest and dearest friends. You can make it just with you and your spouse, whatever it is. It's the concept of acknowledging that you went through something that could have, you faced potential death and you were saved. I know individuals who make a su'udat hoda'ah before they have even fully recovered or before they see the brighter side, almost as if they're putting themselves into the mindset of the joy is already here.
Right.
I see the brighter future already. Yeah.
That's like manifesting.
I mean, manifesting in the right way is a Jewish concept. Yes.
Like, even when you were saying before about eating as if.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So I get nervous with the word manifesting because it's such a buzzword, but in this sense, that is the Jewish perspective on what manifesting is.
Right.
It's putting yourself into that energy, feeling that divine gift before you've even experienced it.
It's faith. Faith in God.
Exactly. It's very, very high level of faith, which is going to get us into the next topic.
And just after I mentioned, the Israelites Egypt and being enslaved, I just started Hostage by Eli Sharabi. So it's like, wait a second. That's right. Even in the midst of being a hostage, somehow he was able to gather other hostages and do what my family does at dinner every night. What is your favorite part of the day? Like, extraordinary. But he
Totally.
And I'm not so deep into it, but
It's an amazing book.
Now he can see on the other end a reality that unfortunately didn't unfold as he thought it would.
Exactly.
With reuniting with his family, but in the same sense, he was. I guess there's also like a physical. There's the physical and then there's the emotional. Two different elements of freedom.
Exactly.
Well, you hear many Holocaust stories like that.
Oh yeah.
Celebrating holidays, doing things like that.
Yeah. It's very high levels, like I say it and then I've met people who have lived it. And it's like, it's very, very, very high levels, especially when you feel like life is throwing at you so many lemons. Like, how are you supposed to find the joy? But when we think about the Holocaust survivors, when we think about people who have really lived lives of joy, I think of like some of the people who I know as the most joyful people have truly been those who have gone through the most challenges in their life and have chosen to live a life of joy. And that's really the power of this month. It's really the power of acknowledging that oftentimes joy is a choice. Yeah.
Edith Edgar.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
That she chose.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Her whole idea of choice therapy. The choice. Exactly.
We could also be saying this cup is half full instead of half empty.
Correct. So much about it is the attitude. That's exactly right. I love that on the last page of her journal, she actually says, what brings you joy? List as many ideas as possible. Like, know the things that bring you joy. Know the people that bring you joy. Know the things that fill you up. How do you expect just to flip on a switch? You got to do the things. So I love the idea of just having that list there. Okay. That's it for Adar. It's like a tease because I have so much to say about this month and about Purim, but I do really want to move forward in this book. So we're going to move back into now the gate of humility. Yes. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
As you're getting there,
Yeah,
what are the Bucksbaum's costumes for Purim this year?
Do you want to wait or should I tell you?
Wait and surprise everybody every year.
It has something to do with pieces. You'll have to see.
Ah,
Has something to do with your pieces
Very
fitting into
cute.
place. You'll have to see.
amazing.
I really don't mind telling you. It's
I love it.
fun when you see the Facebook picture. Yes.
Just really something that I know you've talked about in the past is really clear,
Sure.
the difference between joy and happiness.
It's so funny that you said that because I just saw those words, joy and gladness. Yeah.
It's so important.
So different.
Say more. Why? Why is it? Why?
Like how you said, like happiness is more of a fleeting moment, whereas joy is a state of mind.
That's exactly right, Jamie.
And I
Beautifully
think-
said.
I think that's a good thing to really think about.
Right. Happiness is a moving target.
Joy's an experience.
Okay, joy could be an experience, but I
You said the opposite.
the state of mind.
Well, I do feel like joy, like you work on being joy, like being in that state of mind, and happiness that comes and goes.
I think happiness is a moving target. That's the way I see it. I think happiness is a moving target.
Yeah.
So right when you think that you hit the middle, it's going to shift. So you're like happy for a few seconds or even a few days, maybe even a month. And then it shifts, you know, like it's now you're on to the next thing, and that's happiness. And that's great. You know, we want to be happy. Joy is it's a state of mind. It really is. It's a certain, maybe this is what you meant when you said like an experience. Like it's about like really integrating that feeling into our mind, body, soul, entire being, so that we feel that way, that we're constantly feeling that way. And it's a high level. And it's going to feed so beautifully into this in one moment. So I'll just end with a blessing, though, that may we all really have the ability to access the true inner joy that we're so desiring this month and feel the place of just contentment and, like you said, an inner state of mind and joy within us this month, so that, please God, in just a few weeks, we can really experience true freedom. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so we're going to now understand how we left off last week. So just for Jennifer. We are in the middle of the gate of humility. We're learning all about humility. We learned about arrogance, and now we flipped it to learn about humility. And we said last week, we were just about to jump into this idea of how humility may manifest itself. Okay, so now we're going to go through 6 categories. I'm going to try to go through them pretty quickly, but of course, if you have any questions, please feel free, okay? So the first one is it manifests itself in the intensity of a person's anger. Do you ever notice that people who are very angry people are not generally the most humble people? Okay? Like it's like they kind of contradict, right? When a person is very, very humble, their anger is a little bit less.
Mm-hmm.
When a person has a very large ego, the anger becomes a little bit more. Can this be worked on? Of course, that's why we're learning it. Yes, of course. But it is very important to recognize that if one is greatly shamed by the word or deed of somebody else, and he feels like he wants to respond with a certain deed or a certain word back, that's coming from a place of lack of humility, right? Learning to let it go, learning to not have to always respond. Sometimes in seeing, you know, if my father used to always tell me, like, as long as you're doing something right, there's going to be people who are going to think you're doing something wrong. And they're going to talk about you and they're going to say things about you. And if they're not talking or saying things about you, you're probably doing something wrong. Wrong. Like, meaning if you're really doing something right, people are going to talk about you. Like like you're onto something. So be prepared. People are going to speak. So when you're on that track and you're recognizing that, hold on one second, like, let me just like lessen how I am in this picture. They could talk, they can say, like, you let it like bounce off of you. And it's not so much about like the anger that you feel like you have to defend, or there's a certain amount of zealousness that might have to come if you feel like you have to defend something on behalf of a principle of something. That could be coming from a place of zealousness. But there's a difference between zealousness and ego. When somebody is zealous, they're fighting for a certain cause. When somebody struggles with humility, it's about themselves. What did they say about me? What was it about me? And they can get very, very angry. So we have to recognize that for somebody who can just let things go, let things pass, not respond, even if you feel very humiliated from the comment. I've told this story a number of times in this class, but we have at least one new student today. But there is a special place in the world to come for a person who is embarrassed, who is humiliated, and does not respond back. There's a special place. So if you feel, you know, your cheeks are getting flushed because somebody just embarrassed you and you're able to just let it simmer, not only should you know that there's a special place, but it's a good time to pray, and it's a good time to give somebody else a blessing. And I have a very personal story that happened with this. It's not me, but it's my brother-in-law, whose niece it was a very, very, very complicated pregnancy. They did not know what was going to be with this child. Either the child was going to be born very, very sick, or the child would not make it. And they found out very much towards the end of the pregnancy. And there was somebody, my brother-in-law was studying in Israel at the time, and he was walking out of the synagogue, he went to go pray, and somebody made a very embarrassing comment, not to him, but to somebody who he was right near. It was extremely humiliated. And my brother-in-law saw that this man was like mortified. Like he saw, and my brother-in-law ran over to him and he said, I saw what just happened and I saw that you didn't respond. And I believe that you have extreme holiness in you right now. Can I give you a name? You say Tinok, you say the baby. You don't know the child's name, but you'll pray for the fetus. Can you pray for this fetus of my sister's child? Tinok, Ben, it was a bat, it was a daughter. Tinok, Bat, the baby, the daughter of, and then his sister's name. They knew it was a girl. And he did, this man did. And I don't know, God has his ways, but this baby was born completely healthy. And my brother-in-law takes full credit.
How humble is that?
Exactly. He takes full credit. He's like, that prayers of that man who was so humiliated. So, who knows?
Prayer.
No, it was the other man. But you can. I mean, listen, that was a brave thing to do. He didn't know who this man. He just saw, he was just watching. He was just observing. It could be you. It could be you. And it's a very powerful reminder. So that's one of the ways that it manifests itself. The second one, and this is a really, 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 really hard one. And I'm going to read it to you from the book, and then we're going to digest it a little bit together. I'm going to specifically read to you his language. If one suffers a great loss, or his children or a close relative die, and he vindicates God's justice, accepting all with love, as it is written, and Aaron was silent. This is a strong sign of humility and submissiveness. I think this is one of the highest levels of ultimate humility. When a person experiences personal, like it feels like a personal slap, whether it be, like he says over here, a child or a close relative, somebody who passes away, and the person is able to accept with silence. That is a way where ultimate humility manifests itself. The example that is brought down over here from the Torah is a very, very difficult example for us to understand. And we look to our greatest leaders to teach us the way. After the tabernacle was put up, the beautiful tabernacle was put up, there were two sons of Aaron. Okay, Aaron was Moses' brother, Aaron and Moshe. He had two sons. And they went into a place, have a great day. They went into a place where they were not supposed to go in, trying to do something right, but they didn't do it right. And they were killed as a consequence, okay? It's a real hard thing to understand because they were trying to connect to God, but it's called an Avera Lishma, which means they were doing something wrong for the right reason. Isn't that a crazy concept? You're doing it for the right reason, but it's utterly wrong. And that's what they did. But it says that they were both killed. So on the day of the greatest joy for the Jewish people, when this tabernacle finally went up, his two sons were killed. And the Torah tells us two words in terms of how Aaron responded. It says, Vayidom Aaron. Aaron was silent. He did not respond. That is the highest level of humility, because what it meant is that he humbled himself to the greater power. He humbled himself in saying, if this is what the Almighty deems for my children, so it should be. That's not the words he said. He was silent, but that's what we understand was going on. It is such a tremendously high level to be able to get there. But that is one of the ways that it is manifest itself, the ultimate level of humility.
Similar or not similar to the parent of someone who was murdered forgiving their assailant.
Forgiving their what?
The one who committed the crime.
I think that's the same.
Why are you saying like in
I'm
what way?
asking, like, is that similar
So,
to
no.
being silent and being, you know,
Humility? I don't think.
yeah,
that's-
having humility.
Or it maybe has the same level of accept. It depends where it's stemming from. Is it stemming from a place of humility? Is it stemming from a place of faith? Is it stemming from a place of acceptance? Like where is it coming from? What I guess
It was the first thing I thought of when you started talking.
silence, right? Interesting. Okay.
But that seems very different to me. One is, you know, if like what you're saying, someone dies or something like that. Somebody else's actions,
Right.
committing a crime to somebody, if you stay silent, is how I don't feel like that's the same thing.
I was saying, is it the same as forgiveness? Not silence, forgiveness.
Well, forgiveness, but why are you bringing in forgiveness here? You mean acceptance?
Yeah.
I mean, forgiveness and acceptance are two very, very interlocked traits.
You can go on. It was I don't know
Okay.
why.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Well, you're basically saying not to question God's action.
I mean, first of all, I'm not saying. I feel like I can't even say, but yes.
It's saying
Yeah.
not to question God's action.
Yeah, it's
Not to say
basically
why-
it's saying that the highest level of humility
is to-
is humbling ourselves to something and some power that is so much great. Exactly. That's why it's such a hard thing to say.
Right.
A certain level of acceptance,
Mhm.
you know? I'm trying to remember what was the story.
I think I could do that.
Oh, I know. My friend went to go pay a Shiva call. It was the craziest thing. Oh, I hate all these like heavy stories. But her 2-year-old, she had a 2-year-old who did not wake up one morning. My friend's friend had a 2-year-old who did not wake up. And she went to go pay a Shiva call to this family. And the woman said that she doesn't know why, but the day before this 2-year-old died, she was going to spend the day with her husband. They were going to take the day, they were going to go hiking. And for whatever reason, they decided they were going to take this 2-year-old with them, this one child. And she said, we did. And we made it such a special day. And it was just the most joy-filled day and just such a day of connecting with our little boy. And just, it was such a happy day. When I put him to sleep that night, it was just such a day full of so much joy. And then she said at the Shiva, she said, when he didn't wake up the next morning, I was so filled with a sense that God had given me that extra insight to spend the day with my child. It was like he sent him off with a wrapped package. The level of holiness and humility for a woman to be able to express such a thing at the Shiva of her own child, I mean, there's going to be a very special place in the world to come for such a woman. But that takes ultimate humility. You understand why it's coming from a place of humility. It's so much like becoming almost like, who am I in the face of this? I'm not going to leave off on this note. We're going to move on to the next thing. This is such an intent. That will manifest itself in such an intense way.
Right?
Exactly. If one hears people, this is interesting. If one hears people praising him for his wisdom and good deeds, he should not rejoice in his heart, but rather reflect that his good deeds are very insignificant relative to what he ought to do, being like a drop in the great ocean. It goes without saying that if they attribute to him good deeds that he has not done, he should definitely not rejoice, but be distressed that he is acclaimed for what he does not possess. Again, how is humility manifest itself? Be aware. When you see somebody giving a compliment, well, we spoke about compliments already last week, so I'm not going to go back into compliments, but when you see somebody praising you, I'll just say you. When somebody praises me, right? Immediately recognize, like, hold on, what's happening over here? Like, how am I feeling about this? This is not supposed to, thinking about where humility manifests itself. We want to make this smaller. We don't want to make ourselves feel larger. Now, again, you have to remember the flip side of the coin. We learned about arrogance first. Remember that in order to get to a place where we're equally balanced, sometimes you have to really simmer it down, right? It's got to go really, really. Again, there's a very strong place in Judaism for self-confidence and knowing your place. But always remember who is really responsible. So much of this trait of humility goes back to understanding that there's a creator, there's someone bigger than us, there's a force that's much larger than us. When we take credit for something that credit is not due, that's not humility. So on the flip side, right? Okay. So, and he goes on to say that if one has related evil of him, if it is true, he should not seek to twist the truth or exonerate himself, but should rather emulate the conduct of Yehuda, who said, she speaks the truth. What is this talking about? I'm going to end off with this point. In the Torah, we're told specific ways to give rebuke. Okay? There are very, very specific ways. If we want to rebuke somebody, there are very specific ways. Not everybody follows the way that we're supposed to give rebuke. Have you noticed? Have you ever gotten rebuke in a way that didn't feel great? Okay? Over here, what he's saying is that humility manifests itself, that when somebody comes and tells you you did something wrong, listen to what they're saying. Try to humble yourself to say, maybe there is something that I can learn from this. Maybe there really is something, even if I didn't go that far, like maybe I don't need to defend, maybe I just need to listen. A very, very, very small example of this happened this morning. It's very small. It was a rough morning in the Buxbaum home. Despite the fact that I woke up early, it's Rosh Chodesh, it's waffles morning, it's like all the things. There should be so much joy in the house. Not the vibe. And I was accused by one child. I'm trying to be discreet over here, but I was accused by, well, actually more than one child this morning, but of this child was in a bad mood because of me. And I've done everything to try to make it joyful and everything, right? So it's my fault. But I did have the insight to use curiosity and maybe a little bit of humility. I don't know. I'm sharing the story with you, so I'm clearly not that humble. But to say, really, I put you in a bad mood? And this child said to me, well, yeah, because you were mad at me. I wasn't mad at this child at all. But the fact that this child could express to me, I said, oh my gosh, I said, I'm not mad at you at all. I'm so sorry that you felt mad. I must have done something, maybe my tone, maybe my rushness, maybe something in the morning. There were other things going on, but I must have made you feel like I was mad at you. I'm so sorry. The conversation could have gone totally differently had I not said, how have I put you in a bad mood? What have I done? When she said, now I just gave it when she said, you were mad at me. So I said, so that's on a very small scale. You know what I'm saying? But it could be on a much larger scale. You could be accused of something that you're like, who the heck are you to accuse me of that? Or you can say to yourself, hold on a second, maybe there really is something to what they're telling me. Oftentimes it comes from a spouse. Okay. So just beware that if you're being criticized, humility is key. Humility is key.
And I will say you had humility because you asked the question.
I feel I'm shutting off the recording. Hold on a second. We're shutting off the recording. Hold on.
It's too late. It's already in the record.
I know.
Because if you did not have humility, you wouldn't have cared.